And so why would I not include an anamorphic lens that looks so beautiful to me, that I have the privilege of owning, that somehow I figured that out? Why would I not go through all the pain and all the struggle and all the challenge involved in using it if I can get exactly what I want on the other side? As long as I'm willing to do the work, as long as I'm willing to fight my way through it, as long as I'm willing to learn enough about myself to figure out how I can get there, why would I not do that? So, if you watched my video yesterday, you probably noticed that this is a very similar setup to that video, except that today I'm using a 35mm anamorphic lens. Yesterday was a 75mm, and I tried to set up things very similar, and we'll see how it looks. I wanted to talk about using anamorphic lenses in making a project, and if it's overkill for YouTube, and why I do it for YouTube when plenty of people are doing easy mode or shooting, just doing vlogging, running around with a DJI Action 3 or something like that. Like, why am I using an anamorphic lens and setting up all my lights and trying to create this scene? Does it even make a difference? What's the purpose? What's my point? Especially when it's probably not serving me very well in terms of views and things like that, and I'm not really thinking about all that. The reason I'm doing it is because it's great practice. It's a spiritual practice actually for me, working with any kind of lenses, like choosing the focal length, choosing my aperture, choosing the look of the lens, like these are APS-C lenses. So this 35mm is actually a 52mm equivalent, kind of, sort of, because not really. Because when anamorphic happens, you have to go 1.5 times crop plus, then you divide by the 1.33 squeeze factor. And so this is kind of like a 40mm view, full frame equivalent. And one of the reasons I love to shoot with anamorphic lenses, believe it or not, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I like to shoot with anamorphic lenses because they're kind of hard to shoot with. Like, I'm probably 7 feet away from the lens right now. Obviously it's manual focus, so I have to manually focus this. I have to get my lights together from further away. I have to choose practicals in a, aspect ratio that's 2.39 to 1, which is scope, which is what you're looking at here on YouTube, which is not regular 4K. It's not a 4:3, it's different. It's like a movie. And so a lot of people would say, why are you doing that on YouTube? And as I talked about yesterday, I'm starting to see the advantages of YouTube, the possibilities that YouTube can create for my actual filmmaking. And I'm also seeing that sorry, my back is kind of messed up. Working on YouTube as a filmmaker why not look at this as filmmaking as well? Like every time I turn on a camera, every time I touch a light, every time I do my sound, every time I think about my aspect ratio and I think about my color, color balance and, my white balance and my ISO settings and etc. My composition, like it's all filmmaking. I've been saying it a lot too, like whether you like it or not, if you're on YouTube, you're a filmmaker. You're presenting a story in a visual way. That is filmmaking by definition. And so I love shooting with anamorphic lenses also because they're difficult. Like I said, it's like part of the story. Like when I'm creating a movie, I have a shot list, I have a storyboard, I have my script, I have my shot list, I have all this stuff that I have to think about. And on top of that, if I'm using anamorphic lenses, I have to account for dealing with an anamorphic lens, which is accounting for the squeeze factor, dealing with a heavier lens, making sure that I have all of my filmmaking tools together in my monitor to make sure that, because it looks a lot different than a spherical lens when you're shooting and obviously when you're finished. And so it's just part of the story. It's like kind of like just another step that you have to take. It's like you have to work just a little bit harder. And some people would be like, well, why would you bother doing that? And the answer is, I don't know. I guess the reason for me would be that they look different than spherical lenses. And I feel like once you work with an anamorphic lens, you can't unsee it. It feels different, it looks different obviously, but it just gives you a different character to your shot and to your story. And so once, I feel like once you shoot with an anamorphic lens, you always want to do it again. They just look different. And this lens only has a 1.33 squeeze factor, which is not what everybody wants. They want a 2.0 or 1.6 or 1.8 or whatever. I mean, to me, this has all the anamorphic qualities that I want and need. This lens looks different enough. I don't really care about the lens flares and stuff like that. That's more for like superhero stuff or action stuff, and I don't shoot that. My stuff is more dramatic, more drama, more storytelling than, all kinds of exciting high-speed car chases and things like that. So occasionally I'll get those flares, but more often than not, I'm just telling a story and I'm enjoying using the anamorphic character. The fact that it's not perfectly sharp, that, different parts of the lens look different. It's kind of perfectly imperfect. There are characteristics of the bokeh that look completely different. It's more oval than round. It's just not the same. It's harder to focus. It's harder to get proper focus. It's harder to get your frame. You have to think more about it, I just enjoy the process. It's just another problem that you have to solve, and filmmaking is all about solving problems. And I don't know, I look at my filmmaking like a metaphor for life, like just when I think I can't do something, I can. I've had so many experiences in my life where, I didn't think I was going to be able to get through a certain illness or something like that, or an injury or anything that might have happened to me. And I just have to always remind myself that I just have to keep working through it, and I have to keep trying to solve the problem, and I have to, most importantly, be active about it. I can't be passive. I can't just sit back and let something be so overwhelming that it paralyzes me and stops me from being able to get to where I want to go. That's what filmmaking is like. That's what working with anamorphic is like. And that's life, Like everybody has issues. Everybody has problems, emotional problems, physical problems, work problems, home problems, unforeseen things that happen to your house, your apartment, your clothes, like whatever, traffic. And life is all about figuring it out and getting to the next place, not letting it stop you in your tracks and just taking over and, now you have no power left. Same thing with filmmaking. It might not go exactly the way you wrote the script. You might not be able to get every shot that you want because the sun came out or the sun went away or suddenly there's people showing up where you wanted to shoot or whatever the case may be. Somebody gets sick. You never know. You got to solve problems. And that inspires me. And whenever I finish a play or a movie and I finally get to share it with people, I often think about everything that I had to go through to get to that point. How hard it was, how sometimes it literally almost kills me, how frustrating it is, how many times I felt like I wanted to quit and just let it go, thinking to myself, why am I even doing this, More often than not, I'm not even getting paid until the very end when you start the new journey of trying to figure out, how do I now monetize all this work that I just put in? If you didn't get funding, if you didn't get support, if you didn't get any kind of backing and you didn't have a budget to do anything and you had to figure it all out, now you're finished. You're like, I got to get paid back for this. It's another set of problems. But it's a good thing, because what that comes with is sharing it with as many people as possible. Because when you finish a film, when you finish a play, when you finish an album, anything, the whole point is to share it. And the more people you share it with, the more opportunity you're going to have to make that money back, so that you can replenish yourself and then move on to the next project. And then the next one, and the next one. You just keep going. And anamorphic just makes it a little bit more, I don't know, valuable maybe. I mean, not that working with regular lenses is easy. It's not. It's never easy. Filmmaking is not easy. And I work with vintage lenses all the time, so there's really not that much of a difference in terms of the process, because they're all manual. They're not electronically connected to the camera. I have to do everything myself. But they're not as heavy as anamorphic lenses. And even though they are imperfect, they're not as imperfect as an anamorphic lens. And they don't look the same. I mean, I guess every lens has its own characteristic, especially if you're used to working with vintage lenses. But I don't know, there's just, I compare it to this. The relationships that I respect the most in life are the ones where people have gone through hell, like right to the edge of losing each other, like splitting up, forgetting about it, just quitting and going your separate ways. I mean, people who get right to that point, right to the edge of that cliff, but then somehow take a deep breath, center themselves, and figure out a way to restore that equilibrium that brought you two together in the first place, whether it be a friendship or a love relationship, a marriage, whatever, even a working relationship sometimes. Those relationships to me are the most valuable by far. Because if you've been through something like that together and you found a way to figure it out and now you're solid and back, loving each other even a little bit more, that's everything to me. Everything. That's what filmmaking is like, like every time I've worked on a film or a play, there have been so many moments along the way where I just felt like this is impossible. Like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. I can't finish. I can't do it. I don't have what I need, I have so many excuses. It would be so valid for me to quit right now. I would have every valid excuse. Nobody could argue with me. And in fact, everybody would probably support me and go, yeah, what are you doing? Stop. Like, what are you, crazy? You're not even, like, you're losing money. You're losing time. Like, you're killing yourself. You got injuries. You're just like, what are you doing? In those moments, the universe usually doesn't support you. You have to find that kind of strength within yourself. And that is probably the greatest value you could find in yourself, the resilience to stand at that place where all you see is nothing, like darkness. You see no opportunity, you see no possibilities, you see absolutely nothing. And yet you have some kind of belief inside of you that you can get to that place that you envisioned at the beginning. You can remind yourself of why you started this project. Like, what was the whole purpose of it? How did this idea come to you? How excited were you at the beginning when you saw it as like endless possibilities? When you remind yourself of that, and that gives you the strength to overcome that feeling of hopelessness. Same thing in a relationship. It's like, it's so empowering. It changes your life every single time. And the beautiful thing about art is if you're constantly writing like me, you're constantly creating scenarios like that where you can get stronger and stronger every time, where nothing can ever stop you. Nothing can ever, get you down so low that you can't just stand up and get back up and go. Nothing can kill you until life finally at the very, very end does that. But while you're here, and while you have another day, while you have a chance to do everything all over again, you should never waste that kind of opportunity. You should never waste that gift. It's the greatest gift in the world. Today, right now, this moment. And so why would I not include an anamorphic lens that looks so beautiful to me, that I have the privilege of owning, that somehow I figured that out? Why would I not go through all the pain and all the struggle and all the challenge involved in using it if I can get exactly what I want on the other side? As long as I'm willing to do the work, as long as I'm willing to fight my way through it, as long as I'm willing to learn enough about myself to figure out how I can get there, why would I not do that? Now, I look at every project in the same way, whether I'm using this lens or a kit lens or any lens. It doesn't really make a difference to me. But, you know, anamorphic lenses, like certain people in your life, are just a little bit different. You know, there are certain people that they're unforgettable. You know, no matter what you've been through, you might have been pushed to hating them. You just can't stand another second with this person. But there's just something there that's so special, so unlike anybody else, any other relationship you've ever had, that you know that you just have to fix it. And it's like that with a look that you want for a film or a play or anything, a sound that you want for an album. Like, there's just something about this thing in your heart that you want to create that puts you in a place where nothing can possibly stop you. That you are a force of nature that nobody can slow down, can't get in front of it. Because if you get in front of it, you're going to be flat on the ground. I mean, that's why anamorphic lenses are easy. You know, doing the math, getting everything together in post-production, figuring out how to de-squeeze once you get it into your computer. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to deal with the hassle. It's not a hassle. It's good to learn. It's good to grow. It's good to evolve. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I'm shooting with a Siri 35mm f1.8 anamorphic lens, APS-C. If you're interested in it, there's a link in my description. And if you use that link, I appreciate it. It is an affiliate link. There's affiliate links to all my stuff. And yeah, and just like the last few videos, I'm going to end this one right now.